The 1976 Thunderbird, a forgotten classic? You know the Mustang, the Camaro, the Challenger, names that roar with legacy, performance, and pop culture impact. These muscle-bound legends have carved their identities into the asphalt of American history. But what about the 1976 Ford Thunderbird? Say it aloud, and some might picture a bulky cruiser from the 70s, more suited for Sunday drives than stoplight drag races. Others might not picture anything at all. That's the tragedy and the mystery. Because hidden behind the chrome bumpers and velvet upholstery is a story worth telling, a story of bold ambition, understated power, and timeless American cool. The 1976 Thunderbird stands at a fascinating crossroads in American automotive history. It's not quite a muscle car in the traditional sense. Its weight alone disqualifies it from the lean, mean street racing machines of the day. Nor is it merely a luxury vehicle, despite the plush interiors and smooth ride. It is, instead, something entirely unique, a personal luxury coupe with muscle car aspirations, straddling two worlds in an era of shifting priorities. This was a car that dared to blend comfort with power, style with substance, and it did so unapologetically. At first glance, the 76 Thunderbird is all about presence. It measures over 18 feet long, a land yacht in every sense, draped in steel and crowned with opera windows and hidden headlights. The lines are sharp and angular, echoing the confidence of a country that hadn't yet faced the full brunt of the oil crisis or downsizing trends. Its sheer size made a statement. This was not a car for the timid. The body sits low and wide, with a commanding grille that announces its arrival long before the driver even honks the horn. The Thunderbird looked like it owned the road, and in its heyday, it absolutely did. But the design is only half the story. Under the hood, the 1976 Thunderbird offered a choice of two potent V8 engines, a 460 cubic inch, 7.5 liter, and a 400 cubic inch, 6.6 liter, power plant. These engines weren't built for racetrack records, but they delivered raw, steady torque with the kind of effortless confidence you can only get from big block American muscle. Cruising at 70 miles per hour felt like gliding, the kind of smooth, silent motion you associate with private jets or luxury yachts. This car wasn't about getting somewhere fast. It was about getting there in style, and making sure everyone noticed along the way. The interior was equally impressive, especially by 1970s standards. Think crushed velour seats, faux wood trim, and chrome accents that shimmered in the sunlight. The cockpit wrapped around the driver like a throne, with every control within reach and every surface radiating comfort. You didn't just sit in a Thunderbird, you settled into it. There were power windows, optional 8-track players, tilt steering wheels, and digital clocks that felt like technology from the future. The experience was opulent, even a little flamboyant, but undeniably American. And yet, for all its strengths, the 1976 Thunderbird never earned the same spotlight as its muscle car contemporaries. It wasn't as fast as the Mustang. It wasn't as rebellious as the Challenger. It didn't race in circles like the Charger or strike fear like the Chevelle SS. Instead, the T-Bird of this era was often dismissed as bloated, excessive, a victim of a decade defined by compromise. It was too heavy, too soft, too grandpa, some critics said. But what those critics missed, then and now, is the very soul of what the Thunderbird represented. This car was never built to fit the mold. It was built to break it. The Thunderbird carved its own niche in a rapidly changing automotive landscape, appealing to drivers who wanted both elegance and edge. It was for the businessman who wanted a little thunder in his daily commute, the weekend warrior who preferred velvet over vinyl, the iconoclast who refused to choose between luxury and performance. In that way, the 76 T-Bird was more than a car, it was a statement. A rolling testament to an era when bigger was better, and compromise wasn't in the vocabulary. Today, the 1976 Thunderbird exists in a curious state of limbo. It's not the poster child of car museums or auction blocks. It's not the darling of Hollywood car chases or top 10 lists. But talk to a dedicated enthusiast, and you'll find a different story entirely. Among collectors and restorers, the 76 Thunderbird holds a special place. a hidden gem with serious curb appeal and growing historical significance. Its rarity and uniqueness have made it a sought-after classic, especially in well-preserved or lovingly restored condition. Part of the Thunderbird's allure lies in its potential. Because it was somewhat overlooked in its prime, it's still possible to find one at a reasonable price. A blank canvas waiting for rediscovery. Restorers love it for its bold styling cues and mechanical simplicity. Customizers adore it for the vast bodywork and roomy engine bay. And for the everyday classic car fan, owning a '76 Thunderbird is like owning a slice of forgotten Americana. A link to a time when Detroit dared to think big, even in the face of uncertainty. There's also a growing cultural appreciation for the 1970s aesthetic. The retro revival is real, and cars like the Thunderbird are riding that wave. In an age of minimalist EVs and soulless crossovers, the oversized, overbuilt personality of the Thunderbird feels almost rebellious. It's a reminder of when cars had character, when designers took risks, and when driving was about more than just getting from point A to B. So, is the 1976 Thunderbird a forgotten classic? Maybe. But forgotten doesn't mean irrelevant. On the contrary, the T-Bird's resurgence proves that some stories just take longer to be told. It's a car that deserves attention, not just for what it was, but for what it dared to be. It dared to challenge convention. It dared to mix muscle with luxury, and attitude with elegance. And in doing so, it carved out a legacy that, while quiet, still echoes today. Close your eyes and imagine it. A late afternoon sun casting long shadows across a wide-open highway. The deep rumble of a V8 floats through the air, and there it is, the Thunderbird, gliding past like a shark through still water. Not flashy, not aggressive, but impossible to ignore. That's the magic of the 1976 Thunderbird. It doesn't beg for attention. It commands it. It's time to look again. To appreciate what others missed. To celebrate a car that flew under the radar, but never stopped flying. The 1976 Thunderbird may not have roared the loudest, but it had something better, presence. And that kind of presence? It never goes out of style. The 1976 Ford Thunderbird marked a bold turn in design philosophy, a departure from its earlier, more flamboyant predecessors. Ford understood the shifting tides of the American automotive landscape. The early 70s had signaled the end of unchecked horsepower wars, as tightening emissions regulations, rising insurance costs, and the aftershocks of the oil crisis forced manufacturers to adapt. Muscle cars were fading, but the desire for statement-making vehicles remained strong. Ford answered with a reimagined Thunderbird, sleeker, smoother, more aerodynamic. It was no longer just about power, it was about presence. Gone were the exaggerated tail fins of the 60s or the bold muscle-bound bulges of the early 70s. In their place emerged a more mature, sculpted form. The 1976 Thunderbird introduced a fastback-inspired roofline and elongated body contours that flowed with purpose. It wasn't just long, it was elegant. Chrome detailing subtly highlighted the car's silhouette without overwhelming it. The front grille was imposing yet refined, and the signature hideaway headlights gave it a sense of restrained drama. In a world still crowded with square, utilitarian vehicles, the Thunderbird exuded grace. It looked ready to cruise down Sunset Boulevard or roll up to the valet at a high-end resort. This refined design direction aligned perfectly with the changing priorities of American drivers. No longer obsessed with quarter-mile times, the market was beginning to value comfort, sophistication, and fuel economy. While the Thunderbird was by no means an economy car, its streamlined profile and smoother surfaces nodded toward the new era. It struck a balance between grandeur and subtlety, bold enough to make an impression but sleek enough to feel modern. Where others clung to the past, the Thunderbird embraced the future with style, power, and performance. Despite its luxurious leanings, the 1976 Thunderbird didn't abandon its performance roots. Underneath that polished exterior lay a selection of V8 engines that gave it more than enough grunt to hold its own on the open road. The base engine was the reliable 351 cubic inch Cleveland V8, known for its durability and decent output. But for those who wanted to tap into the car's full potential, the optional 400 cubic inch V8 delivered a more robust and exhilarating experience. This wasn't performance for the sake of aggression. The Thunderbird wasn't trying to be a drag strip king. It was built for long, smooth stretches of highway, where its low-end torque and wide power band came into their own. The 400 V8 didn't just move the car, it glided it forward with quiet authority. Acceleration was smooth, confident, and surprisingly swift for a car tipping the scales at over 4,500 pounds. With a deep, throaty rumble from the dual exhausts, it reminded everyone within earshot that this was still a Thunderbird, still connected to its performance-driven past. The driving dynamics of the 76 T-Bird reflected this same philosophy. It wasn't built to hug hairpin curves or dart through city traffic. Instead, it prioritized a plush, comfortable ride that soaked up imperfections in the pavement. The suspension was tuned for smoothness, the power steering made low-speed maneuvering effortless, and the brakes, disc in the front, drums in the rear, were more than adequate for the time. In many ways, the Thunderbird drove like a rolling lounge, capable, calm, and composed. That's not to say the car couldn't thrill. On long road trips, it was a dream, powerful enough to pass with ease, comfortable enough to keep you going for hours, and distinctive enough to draw stares at every gas station. It was a cruiser in the truest sense, meant to devour miles with style and swagger. In an era of growing compromise, the Thunderbird remained unapologetically bold, proving that performance and poise could coexist. A legacy of luxury. Step inside a 1976 Thunderbird, and you're immediately transported to a world of indulgence. The interior wasn't just designed, it was crafted. Ford leaned heavily into its vision of personal luxury, and the result was a cabin that felt more like a high-end lounge than a conventional car. Plush velour or optional leather upholstery wrapped around overstuffed bucket seats, offering supreme comfort for both driver and passengers. The front seats were wide and supportive, and the rear bench had room to stretch, an underrated luxury in modern two-door cars. The dashboard was a symphony of wood-grain veneer, soft-touch plastics, and chrome accents. Dials were large and legible, framed in satin-finished bezels that added a touch of elegance. The center stack hosted a range of optional features that pushed the technological envelope for the time: climate control, an 8-track tape player, power antenna, and even an automatic headlamp dimmer. The Thunderbird didn't just give you a way to drive, it gave you a place to be. There was a sense of thoughtfulness in every detail. Illuminated entry lights welcomed you into the cabin. Thick carpeting underfoot silenced road noise. Even the steering wheel, with its padded rim and brushed metal spokes, felt like something from a luxury yacht. This was Ford flexing its design muscles in a different way, not through horsepower, but through craftsmanship. The emphasis on luxury wasn't just about aesthetics. It was strategic. As more buyers shifted away from pure performance, Ford positioned the Thunderbird as an alternative to European imports and domestic sedans alike. It was aspirational but attainable, a car that made you feel successful without screaming it. It spoke to a refined sense of style, a desire for distinction that didn't require compromise. That legacy of personal luxury is what helped the Thunderbird build a loyal base of fans who weren't interested in tire smoke and lap times, but who valued the total driving experience. Overlooked yet timeless. Despite all these strengths, the 1976 Thunderbird didn't receive the admiration it deserved during its prime. The muscle car boom had already peaked, and many performance purists scoffed at anything with more focus on comfort than speed. Even among luxury coupes, the T-Bird faced stiff competition from brands like Buick and Chrysler, not to mention the growing presence of European imports. It didn't help that the Thunderbird's sheer size and weight made it a symbol of the very excesses that the automotive industry was being forced to abandon. But time has a way of reshaping perception. What was once criticized for being too big is now celebrated for its road presence. What was once seen as outdated luxury is now regarded as a masterpiece of 70s design. Among collectors and classic car lovers, the 1976 Thunderbird has become something of a cult favorite, an underappreciated gem that stands apart from the usual suspects. It's rare to see one in pristine condition, which makes well-kept examples all the more desirable. Its timeless appeal lies in the unique fusion of qualities it offers. It's a car that's as much about aesthetic and emotion as it is about engineering. It wasn't built to win races. It was built to turn heads, to command attention, to make you feel something behind the wheel. And in that mission, it succeeded beyond measure. Enthusiasts who once dismissed it as a relic of a fading era are now rediscovering its charm. It's no longer overlooked. It's quietly being reappraised, revalued, and revered. The 1976 Thunderbird today. Fast forward to today, and the 1976 Thunderbird is experiencing a renaissance. As the classic car market continues to evolve, there's a growing appreciation for models that offer both visual drama and daily usability. The T-Bird fits that bill perfectly. It's big, yes, but that size translates into comfort and charisma. It's powerful, but not unruly. And most importantly, it's rare enough to stand out without breaking the bank. Collectors are beginning to take notice. Values for clean, low-mileage examples are on the rise, especially for those with desirable factory options or original paint and interiors. The aftermarket support is growing, too, with more vendors offering parts and reproduction pieces. Car shows are seeing more Thunderbirds show up on the lawn, and online forums are buzzing with restoration stories and admiration for this once-forgotten icon. More than just a collector's item, the 1976 Thunderbird remains genuinely enjoyable to own and drive. Its ride quality rivals many modern luxury sedans, and its presence is unmatched in a sea of cookie-cutter crossovers. Owners talk about the joy of cruising, the endless thumbs-ups from strangers, the memories it sparks in older generations, and the curiosity it inspires in younger ones. It's a time capsule that still feels alive. Above all, the 1976 Thunderbird stands as proof that greatness isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes, it's waiting in the wings, subtle, sophisticated, and ready to surprise. It may not roar like the muscle cars of its day, but it hums with its own kind of power, the power of design, the power of personality, and the power of presence. In a world that often forgets to look back, the 1976 Thunderbird reminds us why we should. It's a car that was never meant to fade away. It was built to endure. And now, nearly 5 decades later, it's finally getting the recognition it deserves. A true classic, reborn in the hearts of those who know that sometimes, the best legends are the ones you almost missed. The 1976 Ford Thunderbird stands as a monument to a unique moment in automotive history, a time when American cars were evolving, experimenting, and pushing boundaries in new directions. While it may have been overlooked in the shadows of muscle car titans and European imports, the Thunderbird of this era was quietly carving out its own legacy. With its graceful, aerodynamic design, powerful V8 heart, and plush interior, the 76 Thunderbird was never trying to compete. It was trying to redefine what personal luxury and performance could look like. What makes the 1976 Thunderbird truly special isn't just its bold styling or its smooth, torque-rich ride, it's the story it tells. It's a tale of transition, innovation, and resilience. It's a symbol of American automotive ambition that didn't chase trends, but rather set its own course with elegance and confidence. Today, this once-overlooked cruiser is earning the appreciation it deserves. Collectors are taking notice. Enthusiasts are rediscovering its charm. And drivers are once again falling in love with the experience it offers, a blend of sophistication, style, and raw presence that modern cars just can't replicate. So, is the 1976 Thunderbird a forgotten classic? Not anymore. It's a hidden gem that's finally being unearthed, polished, and celebrated. It's not just a car, it's a statement. And for those who know, it's a legend worth remembering. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the legacy of the 1976 Thunderbird, don't forget to share this video with fellow classic car fans and subscribe to the channel for more automotive stories, reviews, and hidden legends. Help keep the spirit of these iconic machines alive, and join us as we continue to explore the vehicles that shaped our roads, our culture, and our memories. See you in the next one.